Good afternoon YouTube, and welcome back to another video where today I'm going to be teaching you how to do tuck no-handers and suicide no-handers. So let's spin to the action.
I'm okay, I'm okay. Why they keep asking me, am I okay? I'm okay, I'm okay. Why they keep asking me, am I okay? Somebody stop me, I'm out of control. I gave them my body, now they after my soul. In the city of angels, there is no love. The blood, the sweat, the sacrifice, I swear it's never.
Let's begin with the tuck no-hander today, and for this trick I'm going to be using my dirt jump bike. However, you can do it on any style of bike, and we also have the MTB hopper ramp set up as a fly out, as this is the easiest and the safest way to learn the tuck no-hander. If you've never attempted a tuck no-hander before in your life, then the best way to get familiar with the feeling of the trick is to lay on the floor and practice the motion of doing a tuck no-hander. Pull the bike in. When the handlebars are in your lap, it's time to get those hands off and spread those wings. Put your hands back on and then be ready to push the bike out so you're ready to land. One thing to really pay attention to is making sure that the bars are very stable within your lap before taking your hands off. You can also increase the stability of the bike by clamping your knees on the top tube, and whilst you're upside down and it's relatively safe, you also want to focus on putting your hands perfectly back on the grips when it comes to landing again. Now that you've got the motion of this trick dialed, it's time to stand back up the right way and send it on your fly out jump. One of my favourite things about the tuck no-hander is you don't need a lot of airtime to learn it. You could actually do it in a bunny hop. So on your ramp, make sure that you approach it with enough speed to get a nice amount of air, and just make sure you're comfortable with how much air you're getting before trying the trick. As always, allow plenty of time to set up before you take off, and you should be in the attack position. As you leave the takeoff ramp, it's time to send the tuck no-hander. So straight away, you're aiming to pull those bars towards your lap, getting the bike as settled as possible before spreading those wings. You can even, like we practiced on the floor, clamp the frame with your knees for extra stability. Take those hands off, spread those wings, and get as much extension on the tuck no-hander as you can. If you've really pulled the bike in and you've snapped a good tuck no-hander up, then just be aware of your front wheel, because that can get really close to your face, so you might have to put your head to one side. When you're in the air, keep an eye on your landing, because this will keep you aware of how much air time you have, and make sure you allow plenty of time to put your hands back on and to push the bike out, ready for the landing. Absorb the impact as always by bending your knees and your elbows. Doing the tuck no-hander on the fly out setup, you can actually land back wheel first. That's not an issue. However, it is good to practice leveling out and trying to land two wheels together, because when you eventually do this on a proper jump with a real downslope landing, landing on the back wheel first isn't the best idea. One of my favorite things about the tuck no-hander is the fact that you don't have to send it massive to start with. It can be very progressive. So in the beginning, just start off by tucking the bars in and getting a feel for it, and then take your hands off little by little and progress that each time to the point where you're eventually sending massive no-handers which look really stylish. One thing you should be cautious of is pulling back too hard, as all this will cause you to do is land flat on your back, which is going to hurt. The other thing, which is really bad, is to lean forward and go to the bars. You need to find that balance between pulling back and pushing forward, as this is what will settle the bars in your lap and create the perfect tuck no-hander. Now that you've learned the tuck no-hander on a fly out, it's time to progress it onto a step down or a bigger jump. So we've now set the MTB hopper up as a step down, and the principle is exactly the same, except you have more time in the air, which means more extension. Slow everything down, take your time, and just ensure that when you're landing on the grass bank or into a landing, if it's a double, try and get two wheels together as much as you can. A little bit rear wheel doesn't matter, but on the fly out we could land really vertical. If you do that on a landing, you're going to loop out. Enjoy the air time and just get some massive extension on them tuck no-handers. So there we have it, the tuck no-handers dialed. We're now going to take a look at the suicide no-hander. For the suicide no-hander, I've changed to my e-bike because I personally prefer to do this trick on an enduro bike, a downhill bike, or the e-bike or any bike similar to this basically. However, it does work perfectly on the dirt jumper still. And we've also made our way back to the fly out, as this is the perfect place to safely practice the technique of the suicide no-hander. The most important thing with a suicide no-hander is the height of your seat, and the reason for this is because this keeps you attached to the bike, and it also stops you from falling off the back of the bike because you clamp it with your knees. So the optimum height for the seat is knee height. If you have it any lower, so it's on your shins or your calves, then it's too low, you'll slip. And if you have it up any higher, sort of around your thigh area, that is too high and you'll fall off the bike. Your seat height is now dialed and you're ready to start trying the suicide no-hander on the ramp. So you're gonna need a little bit more air time than the tuck no-hander, so approach the ramp a little bit quicker. And the main thing you want to be focusing on is the clamp of your knees on the seat. However, don't do this too early, because on the approach you still want to be arms and knees bent in the attack position. You don't want to clamp until you're actually in the air. As you leave the ramp, level the bike out at exactly the same time. You're going to clamp your knees on the seat. At this point, the bike is stable and it's just a case of building up the confidence to take your hands off further and further. So start off small, even if you just twitch your fingertips, and then eventually you'll find that your arms are right back, sending a massive suicide no-hander. As you start to come into landing, put your hands back on, absorb the landing by bending your knees and your elbows, and roll out, having mastered the suicide no-hander. Once you've got it dialed on this setup, you're now ready to take it to an even bigger feature.
So Tom's never actually been that good at suicide no-handers. It's a trick that I just got the knack of quite quick. And yeah, we've set up the MTB hopper ramp here. It's like into a bank, which is a step down. And I'm gonna give you some top tips so you can get the suicide better.
A jam rock where I come from. Can't you hear it in the bass and drum? You know, yeah. Jam rock where I come from.
Okay, so the first tip that I'm going to give you is when you clamp the bike, you want to try and make the bike as secure as possible, which you start to use your ankles and your shins. You can use them to push against the cranks and the seat and like the down tube of the frame to keep the bike more stable so it doesn't fall away from you. When you get more comfortable with doing suicides, you'll be able to start to let your front end drop before you actually start to take your hands off. So you essentially push the bike away a little bit, and then you can throw your hands off and lean back, which just makes the trick look better and just feel much better. But it is something you do when you're more comfortable. Finally, if you're doing it on an enduro bike, you're probably going to have a front brake. So whatever you do, don't grab the front brake. Just avoid putting your hand on it at all. Like when I do it, I just literally grab the grip, so I don't press it, because if you did, all your momentum's going forward, and yeah, you just end up on a heap pressing your front brake.
Woo! So there we have it. You can now go away and learn tuck no-handers and suicide no-handers. They're both super fun tricks which you can do almost anywhere, and that's what I love about them. So if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, leave some comments below if you have any questions, and I will see you guys in the next one.